I'm Shashi Belamkonda. My job at Network Solutions is social media swarming. And it's on my card. If you want, you can come and get my card. So we did a survey at Network Solutions. It's called the Small Business Success Index, where we talk to small businesses to find out what kind of tools that they use online. And if you look at this list of about, I think, 12 to 14 tools, you'll find that 47% of small businesses that are representative don't have a website. So they don't have the question at all about what a website is. But if you look at how many of them want to have a website, it's more than 65% of them want to have a website. If you scroll all the way down here, where social media presence, it's only 17%. So I'm asking myself, is this very early? Maybe a couple of sessions later, we'll all change our opinions about what the heck is a website nowadays. I don't know the answer to the question. I'm hoping to get the answer from the panelists today. Basically, the definition of a web presence is you put your personal brand online, you connect with your customers, you do community outreach, and you get new business. I know the first website that I ever started was, I used to work in a restaurant and the fax machine was broken. So when customers called and said, hey, can you fax us the takeout menu? We said, sorry, the fax machine is broken. So in order to fix that, we solved the problem by putting up a small site that only had the menu. So businesses still struggle with, it's actually a solution to a problem, like our panelists will tell you. AOL 1996 on the left-hand side was like, at that time it was, wow, that's a website. And then last year, a 10-year-old kid created this using a website builder from Network Solutions. So that's how technology has moved. Is social media another way to build up a presence? If you go to Facebook and type in the word chips, you'll find a lot of pages of chips having their own pages. So should small businesses just go to Facebook and have their own page, or should they have a website plus a Facebook page? This is Ashton Kutcher's page. He can do what he wants. So he has a Twitter page. He's got more than 1 million followers. How does that work with small businesses? Blogs, just a blog may be enough for some businesses, and maybe they need more. But blogs also have another value to do that. Some of them is also to engage with the community, to be able to interact with customers. And then online selling has become very easy. I mean, you probably don't need a website. Just go to Amazon or eBay and have your own e-store. Or Etsy. Have you heard of Etsy? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is for people who do craft at home. It's a very easy platform for them to just sell their wares online. The point here is that it's getting much easier just to do your thing in the niche market without necessarily having a website. So again and again, we keep asking the same question. I work for Network Solutions. How many people have heard of Network Solutions? For those who haven't heard of Network Solutions, I'm sure you have, but you're not connecting the dots, because we are a 30-year-old startup, probably as old as the internet. So one of the reasons of being and engaging in conferences like this is to be able to bring you back to our fold, I'd say. Once again, I'm Shashi Belamkonda, and just a short introduction of the rock stars who are on the stage, at least in my opinion, is Kelly Harman is president of Zephyr Strategies, and she does a lot of, she's very active in the social networks in the DC area, tries to help out small businesses, and as you're coming on the train, she's actually telling how people call her up for advice, not necessarily her clients, and some of them save a lot of money, like one of her callers who just asked a couple of questions on websites and social media and everything else saved more than $7,000. I thought that was amazing. Ramon Ray from New York is the editor of smallbiztechnology.com, runs a conference called Small Biz Technology every year for small businesses. He writes about small businesses. Other than Small Biz Technology, I've seen his articles on Entrepreneur and everything else. And we have Melanie Mitchell, who is Senior VP of Digitas. She was in several companies, including AOL and Network Solutions, and she's a specialist in search engine. The reason why all these three are here is particularly like from a search engine aspect, what should businesses be doing, websites or no websites? So without further ado, I would probably invite Kelly to start to explain what the heck is a website nowadays.
Thank you, Shashi. So I'm the president of Zephyr Strategy. We're a 7-year-old strategic marketing firm working with technology, telecom, and professional service companies to help them with their full-service marketing strategies and websites and helping them build their business. These are some of the clients we've worked with, and we also work with small and emerging companies as well. Shashi asked me to talk a little bit today, are websites dead? And I would say absolutely not. The role of the website, though, is changing dramatically. And what I would say now is that your website really has to be a workhorse for you. And all of these external tools are very important and make a lot of sense to be integrated into your marketing strategy. However, the goal is, whenever possible, is to lead them back to your home website, which has the tools in there to help build your revenue, keep your customers, and grow your client base. It's very important to carry your brand through that you started with your social media networks into your website. Let's say you've met somebody and you're attracted to them, and they're wearing Prada, Gucci, Ferragamo. You have a certain expectation of what they're going to pick you up in, where they're going to take you out to dinner if you decide to go out with them. Well, if they show up in a 72 Pinto, they've broken their brand promise to you. And what happens, I think, a lot is that we get so caught up in the social media aspects of everything that we're doing, we forget that our website has to carry that brand promise and not be that 72 Pinto. How many of you, when you first started your website, asked yourself, what is it going to look like? And you worried about the design? Okay. If I was going to build a house for you, and I was the architect, and you came and you asked me, you know, I want you to build my site plan for me, and I said, let me tell you what the flowers are going to look like, what the landscaping is going to be, how wonderful the shrubs are. You would sort of be like, well, aren't you going to ask me how many bedrooms I need, how we're going to use the house, how many floors we're going to have? And if you start worrying about your site design first and foremost, before you start thinking about how you're going to use the website, you're really sort of doing the same thing. Craigslist, of course, everybody here knows Craigslist. Let's face it, I mean, their website is butt ugly. They haven't worried about that, you know, the design. What they've focused on is the usability and the ability to get the information to the people as quickly as possible. They don't release their revenues, but I've read that they make about $100 million a year in revenue, and they have 25 employees. And so I think that they've got a pretty good profit margin there. And again, you know, design is not something that they were worried about first and foremost. The best resource for you and the best way to design your website is to think about how you use the internet, where you go, how you read it, what you look at, and how long you stay on different pages, and understand the usability. And I know that Melanie later on is going to talk a lot more about search engine optimization and driving people to your website and through pay-per-click marketing and good SEO practices. However, when you're first starting out, you also want to think about what your website is going to be delivering on when somebody gets there based on your other social media strategies. The other thing, too, is I want to encourage you to look at using open source tools. Just carrying this little house analogy a little further, if I told you I was going to build you a house, but I was going to build it on land I would hold title to, and I was going to use building materials that would only work on my property, but don't worry, you're going to love the house and you'll be happy with it, you'd be very hesitant to buy this house from me. Well, if you go to somebody and you say, we'll host it on your server and we'll use your proprietary tools to develop the software, understand what you're getting into in that situation. There's a limited amount of control that you'll have with your website moving forward. We build all of our sites using Drupal, Joomla, or WordPress, and we've done a lot of websites in WordPress now, so it's not just a blogging tool. It's certainly something that I would encourage everyone here to look at, particularly because these open source tools then have those additional plugins that everybody is looking for to integrate seamlessly and easily into your website. So, for example, your e-commerce and your shopping cart and linking into all of your other social media applications. There's been a lot of workshops here on widgets and monetizing your widgets and your plugins, and that's where the use of these open source tools come in. There's a couple caveats to that rule. I'm working with a loan officer, and I'm like, you don't really want to pay me to build your website because it's going to be very cost prohibitive. There's a lot of services there that have already got your online calculator built in and your, how to apply online. And so for certain industries, it makes sense to use a service provider. But for the vast majority of us who are looking at building our websites, you probably want to think about, working with somebody who is going to allow you to maintain the server on the host that you selected using the tools that you want to use. And of course, you always buy your domain name from Network Solutions, but make sure that you bought it and not your website developer.
Thank you.
Sure.
I didn't ask her to do that.
He didn't ask me to do that. Use outside resources for the things that you're not good at. I see a lot of times the people building their businesses, they want to save money, so they want to do their copywriting, and they'll look out for templates that they can use to build their own website. Chances are very good that while you're probably all very good entrepreneurs in here, not many of you are really great web copywriters. And so the two things that I always would say that you need to look for help with is copywriting, and also you're probably not a designer as well. And I would encourage you to go to, find a good graphic designer who understands how your website is going to be used. And so when they start asking you questions like, so what's the purpose of your website, and what types of visitors will be coming, and what do you hope to transact on the website? These are the right questions that you want to ask, or you want them to be asking you. And so certainly if they start talking about how wonderful it's going to look and asking you what your color palette is and what your preferences are, if that's the first entry to conversation, it's sort of like when you go to the architect and you say, I want you to build my house, and he starts asking you what color mums you want in the front yard. You just throw up a little worry, something to worry about there. Two great resources I've found for people who are on a budget and are looking for help in these areas. Elance, I've got a lot of clients that just didn't want to hire a full-time agency, didn't have the budget, and are looking to find freelancers, and Elance has been a great tool. How many of you have used Elance in here? We've got some hands in the back. Did you have a good experience with it?
Excellent.
For the most part, I'm getting a lot of yeses.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the fact that you...
If people bid on your project
Yeah,
as
they-
well, so you can get the most competitive.
Exactly, and you can, it's just sort of like being able to look and see, did you get positive ratings in the last 6 months? Have you earned, a fair amount of money on the Elance? So that's a great place I've found for a lot of different resources. 99 Designs is a site that I've been keeping an eye on, and I've been pretty impressed with as well. It's where you put your project up and people bid on it, but they actually do comp work, and so on a particularly tight budget, it's a way for you to get some original design as well. None of these, though, replaces having somebody that you can sit down and work with face-to-face. And so if your budget allows and the timeline allows, to work with a professional copywriter locally and a designer that you work with, that you're comfortable with, is also another option. So promoting your business. A lot of our clients, we've come full circle, and what is old is new again. And what I mean by that is we're finding that people are starting to get jaded with HTML emails. I mean, how many of you get an HTML email, you see that graphic design, and in the back of your head you're like, oh, I'll look at this later, and you sort of set it aside or you kind of ignore it. A text email message, when you get, if it's from somebody's name and it's a company you recognize, you have a greater tendency to just look and read that text email message. What we've been doing with our clients is a blend when they do email marketing, HTML versus plain text. And what we're finding is that the combination of the two are far more effective than HTML on its own. Especially if you've got something that with a deadline on it, and you send out HTML emails, encouraging somebody to that call to action. If you alternate HTML with text, or you do like a text-only campaign at the end, you're going to find a far better response than you would have if you had done HTML only. The other thing we're doing is we're doing print newsletters, which, everybody's like getting away from that. Let's do all, let's have our online newsletter. And what we're finding again is that there's a certain audience that will ignore or unsubscribe to your email newsletter. But the print one, they'll save in that pile, and then that Sunday morning, you read the Sunday paper, and then you're sitting there and you get all that work stuff out that you've been meaning to read all week, and that newsletter hopefully makes that pile. And of course, in the newsletter, we're giving them call to actions that will drive them to either make a phone call or go to the website and have a particular action. So we're noticing that it does work. I mean, they're reacting specifically to something in the newsletter, and they're going back online. And so this concept of let's do everything online and let's really focus 100% on social media and all of those tools, well, I think it's a very important component of all of your marketing strategies. I think in some ways we're kind of going back to basics when we're looking at the print, and also doing a couple of, like I was talking with Shashi on the train up here, and he said he pays a lot more attention to direct mail pieces than he used to because he's not getting as much, whereas In Basket is getting full of stuff. What he gets in the mail, he actually takes time to look at. And so in your marketing strategies, I would say that no, websites are not dead, absolutely not. They've taken on a completely different role. They're certainly not brochureware anymore. They are that workhorse and that centerpiece for all of you, so that everything you're doing from a social media, SEO, and PPC perspective, is driving back to that workhorse of a website. And that while you look at using your electronic media and all of your internet strategies, that you also consider some of the more maybe old-fashioned tools that we kind of got away from as well in your marketing strategies, because they do affect positively your customer response and acquisition. So here's my contact information. Thank you, Shashi.
Thank you. Ramon gets pitched both by companies who offer technology and by businesses who want to use technology. So Ramon, come and tell us.
Thank you, Shashi.
I think we got one vote that websites are not dead. I'm hoping for some controversy here.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably not. Not yet. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and my comments will be very brief. But I just want to say about the whole aspect of social media versus websites that I do think my vote is that I think websites are inherently very, very important. And I think that they're the bedrock and foundation for everything else that you can or will do. So having said that, I think what I'll do is just quickly leave you with 10 points that supplement and that complement what Kelly has talked about to help you understand. Those of you, how many here have websites? How many here don't have websites? Okay, some don't. And those of you who don't have websites, this is, I think, pertinent for you, what Kelly and I will say now. And those of you who already have websites, how many think you have the best websites on earth and think your websites are great? So, okay, good. 2 of you are telling the truth. How many of you know your website can use improvement? So great. So hopefully these 10 points that I'm going to quickly rush through, because I want to leave plenty of time for Melanie and plenty of time for questions. And I think, Shashi, you're going to give the answers. Yeah. But I think point one, focus on the customer. Kelly has talked about this earlier, but I think many people build websites with an internal looking at themselves. It's almost like how PCs were made. We have the blue screen of death. Computer shuts down and gives a cryptic error message. Why doesn't it say, because you installed this driver, your computer shut down? But no. Instead, XX0000582233 caused an error. Why? Because it was made by an engineer. So some of us create websites in the same way. We focus on ourselves and think, you know what? I love green. Let's have it all green. But maybe your customers hate green. So that's point one. Focus on your customers. Point two, have a plan. Don't just create a website for the heck of creating a website. Don't just build a Facebook page because everybody else is doing it. Have a plan of action why you're going to do it or why you shouldn't do it. We want a website to drive more leads. That's going to be a different kind of website than a website that may boost branding. So have a plan. Point three, have an easy to remember name. How many here have a complicated last name besides Shashi? How many here have a complicated last name? What's your last name? Curtin. Any of the real, give me a hard one. Complicated last names, you have like a long kind of. Wow! He wins! Now imagine, and what do? What's your business? You're starting out, so let's pretend you were selling Coca-Cola. Imagine he said, well, forget that. Imagine you were selling beverages. And Shashki.com. Wrong! He's on Oprah, on CNN, and so, sir, thank you for the interview. What's your website name? Shashki.com. No! Why not IsellTheBestSoftDrinks.com? So have an easy to remember name, point three. Point four, easy navigation. How many people have been to Washington, D.C., driven there? It's a confusion place. Near the White House? I was going to a wedding and I was, what's that 480 or the thing you go in the circle, the loop beltway or something?
495.
495. I promise you, I promise. 2 hours going in a circle because I had no clue how to get off the exit. It's confusing. Manhattan's very simple. 2 lefts in your back where you started, or 4 lefts. Very simple. So have easy navigation. If you want your visitors to buy those cars, whatever you're doing, sir, you sell cars and you sell cars, for example, and you want them to buy bumpers, or whatever you're doing, make it easy for them to navigate. So they can, whether accessories or the car itself, have it easy to do the action you want them to do. Another point, informative. I mean, I've been to websites that are simply plain darn boring. Have you been to those websites that are boring and just dead? And, they say they're you're selling arts and crafts. Imagine just having one needle on your website. Excuse me. What if I want to know needle sizes? Big, small, short, fat, skinny, sharp, not sharp. This is TSA approved. I don't know. have it informative. Have it rich content so people want to go to your website. Does it make sense? I mean, how many have been on dates before? How many?
Never.
How many have vows for chastity and being, nuns or priests? Okay, 1. So how many have been on dates before, gone out? Okay, a few people. Most of you wanted to look your best and wanted to be attractive, correct? Okay, so be informative. Security is very, very important. It's very important because you have content on your website. Now, I personally think the security you have on your site must be as secure as it needs to be. My site, smallbiztechnology.com, there's nothing to steal. Maybe you can, muck it up and screw it up and have really bad images or something on there, but your data's not going to get stolen. I don't store information. Maybe there's another website, again, I'll just pick on 2 people I know, crafts or cars, whatever it may be. You may store information. You have some data, let's pretend. Your website has to be even more so secure. Make sense? Okay, I won't even ask for a response. Easy customer contact. How many of you cringe when customers call you about an order or complain? How many of you cringe when customers call you or complain? Thank you. You don't like it. But this is important. It's very important. PayPal, I think, and Amazon were, back in the day, people used to complain it's hard to reach them, et cetera, et cetera. Now I think I'm an ardent Amazon.com customer. When 24 comes out, Jack Bauer, I will buy $3.99 every episode, just one after the other. So that's the video download. So my point is that they have great customer service, and that's why I can buy from them more and more. Why? Because I know when I buy, if there's a problem, I can reach them. So for yourselves, if you're having a website, make it easy to contact your customers. And we're going back. What is this session about? Is a website important? What we're here today, at least the 2 of us here advocate, we'll see what Melanie says, is that yes, websites are important. So we're here helping to know what are some tips, what are some tools you need to make that website important. But I think these same principles also can go into the Facebooks, Twitter, social media tools that should be also part and parcel of that whole website foundation. The other part, fresh content, that's kind of almost like being informative, so I'll skip that. Be found. Maybe you have the best website on earth, but if it has no traffic, it doesn't mean anything. Unless, of course, it's a website maybe for the Secret Service and you don't want it to have any traffic. Then again, why would you have it? So I don't know. Anyway, my point is that you want it to be found. And this is where I know Network Solutions. Thank you. Network Solutions has the tools and things necessary that can also do that. Or whatever the company is you want to go to. But again, I think there's probably even some companies in the exhibit hall. I don't know, I haven't been there yet. But the point is, you have this website, you built it, how can you make it grow? And I think part of that also, which comes to my mind, is Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and these social media tools, which can be used as when you go to the store and you're buying and you finish buying that $4,000 worth of groceries and you have the candy on the side, kind of that knee-jerk buying. So these other sites, these social media tools can be for that as well. Many ways you can skin this cat, dog, animal, pigeon, whatever you want to skin. Last point, be simple. Sometimes we look to be as complex as we can and have all kind of accessories, widgets, and gadgets, and many of the sites look like just I won't say what it looks like, but it looks like other sites that are just full of images and pop-ups and things like that. It's so confusing. If you're there to sell shoes, just show me the image of the shoes, male, female, child, heel, no heel. Make it simple. I don't need to see everything popping up and whizzing around. And do you want flash or no flash? Do you want to see the audio-only version? Why would I want to see an audio-only version of a shoe store? Click, click, click. I mean, it's just people to just go mindless. So keep these 10 things in mind as you go back to the old school, as Kelly and I are activating, that these things are important as you build your website. And I think the principles themselves will go also for social media. Thank you.
Boy, as moderator, I should have had a meeting with these folks because I seem to be hopelessly outnumbered at the subject. So, Melanie, how about you?
disappoint you. I feel like I'm on Valium, though, after falling around. God. Okay, so the affiliate place has changed a lot over the last couple of years, and there's increased competitions from affiliates from other companies. There's also the way the search engines have changed their algorithms, what they look at websites, how they're ranking them, and also the way people search for things, what their user behavior, how they want to buy things. So when we were talking about this panel, we came up with a better question: are affiliate websites dead? And before we get into that, you're probably wondering, like, why should I listen to you? So a couple of things about who I am. Go to Google, you type in Melanie Mitchell, and you get this person. She's written a book on genetic algorithms. That's not me. I'm an online marketer for over 10 years, and I've been focused mainly on online acquisition. So whether it's through PR, through blogger outreach, through some social media, as well as search engine marketing with SEO and PPC. And recently went to the agency side. So I work with clients to try to help them find their target audience, as well as how do they engage with people, drive traffic to their websites. And one fun fact about me, I hate bug-eyed goldfish. They freak me out. But enough about me. So affiliate websites, and I have to say I stole this from Kelly because I thought it was a really interesting way to describe websites. And there's certain things that they should be and shouldn't be. And what they shouldn't be is thin content sites, doorway pages, providing no value, aggregating content that's on 1,000 other websites that nobody really cares about. I was saying before the panel, when I look for information, I just want what I want when I want it. And I don't care, who it comes from, but if you provide me value, you connect with me and develop that relationship, you've got me. And what it should be, again, is your workhorse. You should develop original content. You should be the expert in the field. You should give people a reason to come to you and engage them and understanding your audience. And a lot of ways you can find this information is through search data, believe it or not, for many different reasons. It's not just about search marketing and SEO. There's different ways you can use it. So when you're looking at building your website, you're looking at the opportunities and where do you want to engage? Like, say you want to be in the travel industry. Travel may look great because, it's a high volume, lots of traffic, whatever. But you think about it, it's not a very targeted term. There's lots of competition out there. So maybe there's an opportunity to get into the details and start to get into something that, is much more targeted, less competition, but more opportunity for you. And then don't forget about trends. So you start to look at trends and say, like, summer vacations. If you look at the trends over time, some of these things come up every year. It's seasonal. Summer vacations, people start looking for this information in the end of December, beginning of January. So why not be there at that time when people want that information? And then there's the real-time data. People are talking about stuff all the time, whether it's through microblogging or on Facebook with their friends, whatever the case may be, even on blogs. And you can monitor this information and understand who these people are, what they want, and does it make sense for you to engage with them? And then there's also keyword clustering. So again, going back to the travel example, people are using travel, but they're also looking up guides, advice, tips, other things, and you can continue to drill down into this information. And so when you look at your website and you look at what you have, what you're trying to promote, figure out what people want. They're already telling you out there, like what they want and how they want it. Build upon that. Don't just try to make back to, someone made the comment before, like, you like green, so, just make a green website. No, understand what people want and build upon that. The opportunities are everywhere, and I'm telling you, there's a lot of free tools out there for you. And so I'm going to build I learned from Ramon's mistake about asking questions. So I have a question for you guys when you're talking about your website. So of course, search is a big part of people finding your content, SEO being one of them. And there's things you can control and you can't control. Can anyone tell me one of the biggest factors of ranking on your website that you cannot control? And I have 2 1 gigabyte
That's cheating.
thumb drives. If I person give me the answer. Can any? Yes.
Competition?
No.
The oldest domain name, the very
I'll give you a hint. It's blue and it's underlined a lot of times. Links. Who said links? All right, this is for you. It's links. And a lot of times you can do with links, a good way to get links when you're getting your content out there is through social media. So you have your website, which is a workhorse, but there's other ways that you connect with people and build upon it, which also helps the other side with SEO. Now, that's not the number one thing to be thinking about, but know that it's a factor in it. So when you're looking at the social media landscape, there's thousands of platforms out there. But you have to really figure out where your audience is. You can't be everywhere. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And the key to social media, it may not be a direct response channel, it may be less sales, but it's about increasing your branding awareness and building that loyalty, putting a face to your website, standing out in the crowd, with a secondary factor that it can lead to more visibility. So before you start out there, understand what do you want, what is your strategy. Listen to the marketplace. Again, a lot of data mining tools out there to understand what people are talking about and starting to figure out the conversation of where do you fit in. And find the people. People always want to hear from experts and people that are passionate about particular fields. So engage with those folks, offer up something of value to them. And then also be willing to listen and take action upon what the feedback they're giving you. And if you have employees within your company, make sure you're setting up rules of engagement. So what to do, what not to do, how to engage with people, because there's very specific rules and you don't want to get flamed out there. I've seen it happen to people where they just put content out in the audience, or they kind of hid about who they were and kind of went about things, or they were direct selling and it kind of blew up with them in the press, and it can be pretty ugly. And then define your strategy. So again, there's thousands of platforms out there. Maybe pick a few that make sense where your community is. Like, for example, you're in finance, or you're doing some sort of financial related something. Maybe Facebook's not the place for you. Maybe it's Mint, where there's a whole community that's about finance that you can go engage in. And then when you start to engage, what is your audience? Where are they? Do you post on blogs? Do you upload pictures to Flickr? Do you put how-to videos out on YouTube? Do you, build an audience on Twitter through friend feed? How do you then find that community and build up that audience? And again, it's about creating that value and making sure that you continue to go offline. So it can be through conferences. The face-to-face is so incredibly important. People want to connect at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you're a brand or a product or a person. They want to connect. And so if you go to these conferences, make sure that you're out there talking to these people. Set up meetups, have breakfast meetings, set up a seminar, create that value, and measure success. So through social media, a lot of times you ask more questions where, did we learn something new about our customers? Did they learn something about us? Is there another way to engage? And I have a couple examples of how people are using this out there. So this is actually from Craigslist, and there's a company called Little Spoonfuls out in San Francisco. And they have organic baby food and organic toddler food, and they also make family meals. So they out there and they have their listing on Craigslist, just a direct sale. But they also have on the page, which I cut off a little bit, it's about their value proposition, but also follow us on Twitter, as well as drive back to their website. And then on their Twitter page, they're promoting, here's our different meals that we have, there's links to their website. They also offer up value coupons for their site. But other things they could do is then become more the authority figure on organic food. And that's another way they can engage and grow their audience. So if you think about all these different ways, it's not about the direct sell necessarily when you're out here. It's more about how do you connect with people who have an interest in what you have to say and do it that way so they keep you top of mind. Another one is Missy Ward. Of course, one of the co-leads on Affiliate Summit. She has her own fan page where she has original content out there that she's posting for the affiliates. She's establishing herself as an authority figure on the Affiliate Summit side, as well as an expert in this area. Well, none of this on her fan page is about Affiliate Summit. It's content, it's value, it's trying to engage with that audience. And she gives you a way to take that information with you. So it's a summary of the videos, it's also links, then you can take it to your website and share it with your own community. And it's great because then it provides value for your people in your own community, but also gives her a further reach that then she can reach out beyond. So if you think about even the conference spaces, like there's so many out there, you want a reason why you go to a particular one. So you think about Missy Ward, she has a deep passion for affiliates, and she also gives back to the community. So when you think about that conference versus other ones, you might have more of that halo effect and affinity towards her as a result. Mm-hmm. And Dan Schwabel's another one. He's a personal branding expert. He wrote a book. He also has his own personal branding summits. He has ways that he's making money, but he uses different means to connect with people. So he's out there on Twitter and he's posting information about how do you manage your brand, how do you get a job building up your personal brand, reputation management, and providing that back, as well as giving things away for his Facebook page. Sign up, be a fan. It's not about the direct sell. It's about creating value. Because you're really only as good, if you're just out there with that website, you're really only as good until that next shiny marketing campaign comes along and then takes away your traffic. Mm-hmm. Unless you create that value and establish those relationships, you're going to struggle. So it's really about finding your folks. But again, the website is not dead. We all know that. And make sure when you're looking at your website, use data to find opportunities. What do people really want, and how can you then build upon that? And do your research. Who are the people that care about what you have to say, and how do you connect to them? Make sure you have a social media strategy. Don't just go out on Facebook and Twitter just because it's the latest thing and you've heard all about it all over the news. Make sure you understand where your audience is and connect with them there. And provide value back to the community. It's not about the direct selling, it's about creating relationships and bonding with people, and so they have more of an affinity towards you, so when it comes time for them to buy, that they're more open to hearing from you. And then continue, rinse and repeat. And the reason why is because the website has changed. I mean, it's not the same as it was, back in 98 or 97, and it's not Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. You have to give a reason for people to come. And that part of that is out there creating that value within the community, connecting with customers and letting them know that you care about what they have to say, listening to them, and providing something that they need at that time they need it. So, sorry, Shashi. No. Thank you.
So I guess the verdict of the panelists is websites are not dead, but it needs a lot of nurturing in how you can use social media. So with this, it has to be an interactive session. So just to incent you, I also have some free drink tickets. So whoever asks a question gets one. So questions, please.
I have a question. How many have found that social media has been beneficial for them? Just curious. Okay, many people have not. I guess many people are experimenting with it, I guess.
I have a question as well. How many of you...
Free drink? No, I'm just teasing.
Oh. How many of you tweeted today? And like yesterday, I'm just like, you're thinking, oh, I did it yesterday though. Oh, okay, okay.
I mean, go ahead.
Can you give some examples of getting backlinks through social media, like dig.com, or some personal favorite techniques of yours?
Well, through different customers, it's not so much through Dig necessarily, but it's really providing value to the blog. So sometimes we do the blogger outreach where we would give them, say if we had video content or some original, something of value that would be of interest to their community, we'd go out and reach out to them and say, hey, we'd love to have you post this on your blog. We think that they would like it, and do it that way. I mean, there's other ways. It depends on your community, through Twitter, of course, depending on what, again, is your area of focus. You can spread your content out that way and have people, of course, retweet it, but then it depends. A lot of times the people blog about it. One of the ways that we found through links, it's not so much directly related to Dig, but sometimes when you get a story on Dig, of course, the journalists are out there, they're looking for content all the time, and so they go to Dig to see what people are talking about and what they care about it, and so they'll write articles about it. But that can be really challenging I found it if you're doing it in sort of the white hat way. Of course, there's other ways that people have large networks that they post these things in Dig and goes out to all their friends and they just do it because they're part of that community. But I mean, there's many different ways if you don't have that connection. But again, it's about finding about people who care about what you have to say, and then giving them that either that content, the product, or the video.
What's the name of your site?
Make People Interactive. I actually work for clients, but we're struggling to find good ways to get backlinks because that's always a challenge. Just lastly, do you write content to give away that's different than the content of your main website?
No, not. I don't write the content, but for the companies that I've worked for, we don't write content to give away specifically for that to happen. But we have original content in companies that I work for. We've had original content or products. Like a lot of times, we would build products and we would get people in sort of in the development mode. And so they'd have kind of the exclusivity, so when we launched it, that they could write about it, and then that would provide links back to our areas, or even with free, like different videos. Like we create original video, whether it be music or something to do with, some sort of star that we'd have come in for a particular area, and then give it to those people who care.
Anybody else want to take that? The gentleman in the back, I'll come to you next.
I'm Michael with 10 Golden Rules. When you talk about going back to get backlinks, do you worry about follow or no follow and the page rank of the website that you're getting a link from? Or are you just, a link is a link?
No, I mean, that's a concern, but the way I look at it is I don't focus necessarily just on the backlink side of it, because even if you have from one site that's a no-follow link, that doesn't mean anything, it's still it's still presence on that site, so it has the opportunity to drive traffic to my site that I'm trying to promote, as well as expose the content or the product or video to someone else that they can then take and run with it that may not be a no-follow link. So it's, to me, it's better to just look at kind of the big picture rather than focus on individual sites.
If I may add to that, just from my personal experience, and feel free to tell me, is I upload a lot of pictures to Flickr, and I put a link to my blog in case you want to use that picture. It's all a no-follow link. It may not be very valuable SEO-wise, but in terms of traffic, Flickr is the number 8 referring site to my blog.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
My name is Catalina from bloggerbook.com, and we help people to create a digital presence and actually advertise using social media. And a lot of people say, oh, I just spent a lot of money, a lot of potential clients, I just spent a lot of money building a website, and I don't want to put a link for my features because I'm taking traffic out of my website. It just drives them crazy. And I don't know, do you have any position about that? Because I see a blog, I think every blog is a website, but a new website, they have to be conversational. Like, you can have the chance to add value, leave comments, interact with features, but a lot of people are still afraid of that. They think they're giving up too much, giving up their secrets, so they just want to do it. So what do you guys think?
Is the question more about whether or not it makes sense to give away advice for free in order to build business?
Yeah, like when you approach a client and you tell them you can use your blog, your WordPress blog as a website, and you can have pictures direct to your YouTube video, they go a little crazy thinking, yo, you were taking people from my site and sending to YouTube.
Oh, well, not necessarily. I mean, you can embed a YouTube video in the site itself, and so the person doesn't leave. I mean, that was one of the things I was talking about when if you use certain tools to build your website, then they're built in such a way that you don't actually have to leave the site to go visit. Right.
And I would also add to that, don't forget about the big picture.
Right.
I think that's most important. I mean, you're right, you have one point about driving traffic away from the website, of course, but I think more importantly, whether you're selling a product or you have a service or you're a content site as I am, the key is, are you providing an awesome experience, great content, whether it's a shoe on Amazon.com or now thanks to Zappos or whatever it may be, but are you providing an awesome experience? Customers will then follow, then I think you can worry about the detail. But first, build great experiences, great content, great customer service, etc. for your audience.
And just one, and Larry, you have a question, I know. Well, just one more comment. As a tool, as a practice, what we do is if we are providing a link on a website that is going somewhere other than the website, we put that in such a way that it opens up a new browser window. Okay, so we make that as a default so that your website always remains on the person's site. So that's just a...
Your question.
I have a question. So for companies that are not sole proprietorships, individuals promoting themselves, but they're a larger company with several workers there, and executives may not have time to spend a lot of, write blogs every day and that kind of thing. Are you seeing trends towards folks hiring like speakers or bloggers or bringing people on to join the company, and here's your job, I want you to spend 3 hours a day researching, 2 hours a day writing?
That's what he does.
And putting together canned tweets to disseminate out on a daily basis. Are you seeing that sort of thing, or are you seeing that it's more just the small sole proprietorships on a mortgage program or real estate agent, folks trying to just do their own thing?
I think, Femi, I'll take this answer. The first thing is, again, the audience. And Jay Berkowitz, the gentleman in the back, will say, educate, entertain, and engage. And part of that strategy is also like, if a company, like Network Solutions has I would say a network of blogs, but we don't talk about Network Solutions products. We don't have any automatic tweets or feeds. But we talk about our audience, which is small businesses. So it's either we interview experts, and that's how I met Jay, is interviewing him and asking him about, hey, give us some tips to small businesses. So I think it's okay for you to go out and get content from experts that may not be part of your company, but it helps your audience. So that's one thing. I don't know if you can make it into a system or anything, but your measurement at the end of it will be how many people actually saw you, was it interesting enough? And you can tweak your content based on what are people looking for on either blog.networksolutions.com or we have Women Grow Business, which is totally run by women entrepreneurs on their own. We just make the conversation happen. So I don't think anybody will appreciate a company just doing a tweet, but Twitter helps in driving traffic simply because if one of your executives is on Twitter and he says that I've written this blog post and then his network knows about it, yes, it is going to drive traffic to Twitter. And all Twitter links are no follow. But here, your objective is to make sure people read your blog post. I don't know if that answers the question, but anybody else wants to add to that?
I have a good. I was at a conference last week, and a very well-known author was speaking, and he was making a presentation. And in the midst of his presentation, he stopped and he pointed to some guy in the back of the room, and he goes, "Tweet that." And then he went on, and then he stopped and he explained that he actually has a personal assistant that follows him everywhere, and the personal assistant's job is to post tweets in his name, the speaker's name. I'm like, you're so LA, and that's where he's from. It's like, of course.
But I think really that everybody should have that. I think all of you do have a personal assistant here right now. I mean, all of you don't have that. Oh.
I was like, so.
I'll take the question.
Well, to your question, in fact, I actually know of 2 companies that actually hire social media managers. That's all they do is blog and all that stuff. So your question is probably yes, there are people doing that. Is it fair to say that the websites have changed from what, maybe they're not dead, but the site as we know it has changed? More along the lines of maybe a string of microsites, that each individual site has what you're trying to promote for that particular customer community focus. Is that a fair assessment or not?
I think, I hate to say it, I think it depends. I mean, I think it depends on what your business is. I can see where some businesses, it would break down into microsites, and you may want to be specific to specific audiences depending on what it is. But there's other places like an e-commerce site that may be one big site that then breaks it up within the site itself. But you have the hub. So, I as Shashi had mentioned before, I was at AOL, and I went specifically to work on their SEO and paid search efforts, and it was when they were starting to move content on the web, and the way that they thought about the company was kind of like this, because it was all about the homepage and driving people on the homepage and then driving people out. And I said, you need to flip it where it's more like you have 400 million entry points to get people into your site, and if they get to the homepage, great, but it's really about treating each page as its own space, even if it's on that same URL. It's really about really swarming around what is this page about, or what is this section about, and speaking to that. It's breaking content down. You can break it up in different ways. It's kind of like what I was saying before. It's not Field of Dreams anymore. It's not you show up and everyone shows up at your door. You have to give them a reason to come. So it's creating value. It's creating original content. What do people want? Speak to that in a way that they can't get it in other places. Engage with people. And then go on the social web. Like, where do you fit in? It may not be on Twitter. It may be somewhere else that you fit in. But there's a community out there. There's thousands of these communities. And it's about finding your peeps, like finding your audience, and then speaking to them in a way that they're willing to hear from you. But the website itself, no, we just think about it differently. It's not. It's no longer everything in one place. It's like you can have it in that same domain, but break it up.
And I think also the it depends for me is really, really important, because I think that the website can have things that clearly Twitter cannot have. However, Twitter is, as a dynamic medium, one that's fast moving and quick, and some people only rely on it. So I think that it depends. I wouldn't say only website. Even Facebook, it has all the popularity and all that. But again, Facebook can't do everything that another platform can do. So I really think it's to look at your audience. And I think of the web and online content overall is what does your audience want? And what are you selling also? If you're a law firm trying to generate more leads for your legal practice, that may be a different field than something else.
Go ahead. Gentleman back.
I have a question that's kind of hard to ask because there's probably many different aspects. It could be asked many different ways and it could apply to Facebook or Twitter or blogs. And that is, should you have separate identities or separate websites for your personal versus your commerce, or how much can you mix commerce into your personal, or vice versa?
I give my personal opinion on that. I think yes. I think that one, it depends on who you are, I think, and it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. For my own case, for example, I'm a smaller business, and my business is very much tied to me. Soon all that may change. So my point is that I think that if you're part of a larger company, it definitely has to be separate. Who Shashi is maybe is different than who Roy is, his boss, and different than Network Solutions. So he's a larger company. So I don't know if that helps answer it. But if you're part of a larger company, I think it's fine to have a mix. Dell, Bob Pearson, they have a social media guy. He has his own page. But Dell also has their own Twitter feed. There's another Twitter feed for sales. So.
Yeah. But you also look like Charles Schwab, who's like the face of
Absolutely.
Well,
That, and they has, yeah, he's more on that site. Like he has his own section on that site. It just really
We have a
depends.
little bit specific that probably applies to more people here. A friend of mine started a blog where she's talking about gaming, and she wants to monetize it. She wants to, get commerce on it, get revenue.
Sure.
Thank you.
And then, but she's passionate about it, so it's what she likes to do. So that follows the first rule: is be informative and build a relationship with people who you want. But then a little bit of the linking out to some commerce sort of thing gets accusations from people like, "Oh, you're just doing this for the money," sort of thing. Would it be better to actually have two separate things? Say, all right, this is my personal opinion, and if you're interested in commerce, whatever, you can go over here, and that's where you do more of the commerce stuff. Would that be an advantage, or how does that get handled? And of course, I mentioned that too because I'm doing similar things.
You're never going to make everybody happy. Bottom line. I mean, you started out the conversation by saying she's a passionate gamer and she wants to monetize her site because she wants to start generating revenue from it, which is completely respectable. And there will always be detractors. Oh, you've lost your way, or
You sold out.
Yeah, you sold out. That was it. That was the word I was looking for. You sold out. It's like, yeah. It's like.
But remember, your audience also has a choice. So
Yes.
Right.
they decide to unfollow you, then you're doing something wrong. But otherwise, if you're all having a discussion on the same topic, I think it's okay to say, here's what I started selling, or here's a new software I developed, because that happens all the time. As long as your network is on the same page as you, I think that should be okay. Except, it has to be completely transparent about who you are,
Yes.
what
Right.
you're doing, and what you're there
And
for.
she needs to maintain, I mean, if she's been always passionately, vocal about her opinion of different games, for example, and stuff, and then she starts filtering that conversation because now it's a monetized site, then, she is going, that's not a good thing. If she remains as passionate, vocal, and honest as she was always, and happens to also have, monetizing her site, then I think she's fine.
Your question.
Okay. In your experience, the social media tools like Twitter and Facebook, do they help you drive leads which help you build your brand, or leads which actually result in sales? What is your experience? Is it more of a brand building tool at the moment, or is it something that can actually convert? And if you have seen that closely, can you give a rough assessment of what would be the ROI versus advertising?
I can give an example that may help you. Cafe Metro is a local New York City cafe, and they have, I think, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock or something, their VP of marketing gives coupons, something like that, a sandwich and this and that and that. That's on Twitter. That's lead generation. I'm sure it's not a lot of money. But the bigger issue, of course, is branding. But my point is, it does monetize to some degree. So I think it depends on what you're doing. It depends on how you do it and what you're doing. I'll leave it at that to save time. But anybody else?
Yeah, I've got 2 clients that were a direct result of my involvement on LinkedIn. So I would say yes.
I mean, think about the conference here today. All panelists get $10,000 to come here. That was direct. No, I was teasing.
Go.
How do you find social media sites that are specific to your vertical?
Twitter's probably one way, I would say, because you can filter it. I mean, that's what I would, just off the top of my head, which I shave once a week, I would say that Twitter, because you can filter it and say, I want to search on all things airplanes or automotive or cars. And then if you follow that feed, invariably within seconds, you'll start seeing different sites. That's one thing I would say.
Yeah, and then there's also things like Technorati. You can look through and you can see all the lists out of all the different sites and blogs, and you can start to see where they rank within their field, and then try to understand, I hate to say it, but just use Google too. Like, what's your field? I was actually I had an intern that was with Digitas that worked on the search side, and she said, how do I find more information? How do I find information about search and more blogs? So I just went to Google and I typed in top 50 blogs for search marketing. I'm like, there you go. There's a list. There's Inc. 100. So I think there's ways that you can find it. And even I found, like, with Delicious, where depending on if you're on Delicious and you follow people you trust, that what they bookmark, and then engage and see what those sites are. I found, like, interesting content that I would have never found before through my network, either on Delicious and Twitter. I mean, it's amazing to me. But I think those areas are all what you make of them. Like Twitter can be, there's like, oh, I had toast for breakfast. I'm like, I don't care. I really am choosy about who I follow and what they have to say. And that again, I think you can find a lot of information that way.
We have a question from.
Yeah. Sorry. So assume you build up this.
This must be a first.
this online personality, persona, network of things that people are interested in, what you have, what your opinions are. How do you transition that, or what networking tools do you find the easiest to transition that into a real space find people go rather than interested in what you have to say to, I guess, what you have to sell? I mean, what tools do you find that'll bring people from being like, oh, I like to see the pictures that they put up about, the canal to, oh, hey, I'd like to, rent a canoe from that. What tools do you have to transition that from just being, basically someone going in there with the mindset of, well, this is just, brain food to being, something physical?
I can give you my own example. I mean, I'll give it real quick. It's just that I don't sell anything at this moment, but I think Josh is my only my only reader probably here in this whole room, but I think I started out with a passion for technology. I eat, I sleep, what else do you do? Dream, and whatever else there is to do, I do it with technology and small business. So I've started to write about it since 1999. In fact, I have a t-shirt from the 1998 internet world. So I'll stop there, but that's the content side I love. So it's a little easier for me to transition now to a product side because I have an audience that trusts my brand, trusts me, and they will buy. So I don't know if that helps in a nutshell, but I think once you become an authority, once you can speak passionately, the gamer, on some topic, people trust you, then you can be able to ethically and correctly sell them something. Not everyone, but even getting 1% of 10,000 people or 1% of 1 million people is a good sale. So that's my take, if that helps.
And as well, that's kind of where the website goes in. The website as a workhorse is there's a hesitancy, I think, on the part of a lot of people to say, I am selling something. Mm-hmm. I am here because I need to make a living and generate revenue. And so if you build an expertise and a knowledge something and you're tweeting about it and you're listing it on Facebook, but in your profile it says you do X, Y, and Z, and it drives people to your website and landing page that says, and here, by the way, if you like this information, here, buy whatever it is I'm doing. Does anyone else think that that's a bad thing? I really want to know. I mean, is that contrarian? Yes?
Our answer, I'm a social media strategist, our answer to my clients is that the purpose is to get people to know you, like you, and trust you. And when you do that by what you're tweeting, it's a baby step to get them to buy your shit.
Yeah, and that goes back to the whole engagement. When you're looking at the website and building content, I just pulled up the slide that I used on tools. Like, there's plenty of tools out there. Like, you have a passion, but what you like and how you think about things may not be how the world is thinking about things. We had this problem with Yankee Candle where they had their particular candle names where people were using literally hurricane candles to find Yankee candles. Yankee candles are just using big candles. That's their description. People weren't really finding them. So you have to really understand what people want, how they think about things, and how they're searching for that information that you have. Build that content, but it's also about building your brand and your trust and connecting with people.
What's your company name? Know You, Like You, Trust You?
Green Island Marketing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. If anybody follows me, I'm Shashi B. But right from a picture of what I saw in New York to...
You're the guy standing on the poster like this? Yeah, I'm standing on the flagpole.
No, a very interesting restaurant called Kashmir, and why it was interesting is it's an Indian and Pakistani restaurant and the geography is somewhat different. So I would say just go for it. Be yourself. People, if they like you, then they'll absolutely trust you and buy what you have to sell. I'll just go to... He was there.
How do you feel that the names are going to come into play? Because I feel like I'm joining them, but they just seem like there's just too many. They're so micro-niched, and I'm not quite sure how that's going to all play out if people have all that time to dive into one or the other.
So is Ning a website, a social network?
Yeah.
So I think
I think
probably
Kelly has a different viewpoint.
No. I was just saying it is, but you build it. It's a private one. It's a private network.
I was just going to say, that's a whole discussion where I think there are speakers who are going to talk about how niche social networks are going to be the future as people start getting familiar with. So would you agree with that?
Yeah, but here's what happens. You say, I've got this company and I'm going to start a Ning social network and it's going to be a vibrant organization, about my niche. And what you forget is, and you just assume that the people that join are going to start talking amongst themselves. And that's not really how it works. It's just like if you have a party at your house, you're the hostess or host. So it's your job to make sure people are talking to each other and somebody's not left alone over here. Have you met so-and-so? It's the same thing if you've built your own Ning social network. Your responsibility is to be that host and constantly keep it moving and acting and stuff. And that's quite often goes by the wayside. And then you find yourself with these little like Ning things everywhere that do nothing for you.
Right, well, I think that that's what I've basically found, is that I've joined a few of them that are targeted in my marketplace, however,
They're not good hosts.
they're just,
They're
yeah.
That's the same with
We have,
Facebook fan pages.
we have time for one more question, but there are two gentlemen who I'd like to go to, so we'll do this quickly if you don't mind. Him first, and then I'll come to you. Go ahead, quick.
Yes, this question is for Kelly, Harman, and Ramon Ray. Do you guys have any presence on Twitter? And if you do, why you don't share your? Maybe it's personal. But
No, it's a good Z3 Kelly. It's on my business card, and I just didn't put it on my slides. My bad.
Twitter.com/Ramon Ray.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good question.
Just a quick observation and a question. We manage, we have a social media manager, content manager, brand manager, I'm the affiliate manager, and I run the entire team. And we don't ever talk about websites. Websites aren't dead, but we never mention websites. We talk about web properties. And we look at all our web properties across the board at the same time. And you talk a lot about strategy. It has really helped our approach on a strategic level because we don't look at just Ning or just Facebook or just, we look at all the properties across the board and how they relate to each other. The results have been remarkable since we started doing that in a couple of months. We went from sending 1,000 people referrals to over 4,000 a month. We've quadrupled our business and our reach in just a couple of months. So just a quick observation that just think of properties and strategies, and it just works way better. My question is, and it goes to what everybody's talking about here, how do you separate selling or not? Something we're doing, I'm just curious if you think this is a good idea. We do at least 3 blog posts a week. And what we're doing is 2 of them are completely fun. We don't try to sell anything. You know, it's Fun T-shirt Friday, and I think we did Jello shots in the office one day, and we were taking pictures of Jello shots. And all
What is the name of your company?
Yeah, it was Party 411. Party site, Party
There we go.
Okay, makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I'm thinking you sell school textbooks. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things we blatantly sell, we pretty much, we do a blog post because we have proprietary product and stuff that we develop and all that. And we say right up front, this is our product, this is what's new on our site, we just want you to know about it. And we do it. I'm curious if you think that's a good idea. We actually stole that from American Greetings.
My opinion, I think
and that's what they're doing. American Greetings, 1 out of 3 blogs is blatant selling, the other 2 are social. I just wonder if it's a good idea or not. They're doing it, but I have no idea.
Does it work?
Well, I mean, again, it seems to be doing okay, but it's hard to measure.
I think that's the first question. But not knowing that, I think it's a great idea. My assistant, for example, she's in Westchester, and I told her she's leaving money on the table because she's not telling me more how to use her services. So my point being that now that I know you're a party site, your customers are buying balloons and tables that fold with an automatic touch of a button and balloons that pop, I guess, and licorice comes out or whatever you're selling them. My point is that they want fun, they want entertainment. So I think anything you're doing to help them know how to have fun, how to use your products more, how to be entertaining, I would think goes to that, either your brand or direct selling.
Your assistant can start tweeting for you.
And then they're more open to hearing your message and selling because you've already connected to them, you've already spoken to them in a way that they're open to hearing from you. So I think it's great.
Before I close, a big favor from everybody, please fill up the evaluation
Or we
forms.
can fill it out for you also if you wish, it's fine.